Today in the Sartorial Kitchen, we are celebrating pork. That's right. Kicking things off, it is my brown sugar bacon wrapped weenies. Next, a Tex-Mex take on a classic hanky panky. Following that is my pork chorizo sliders. And lastly, for dessert, chocolate dipped bacon. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with me? Back to the Sartorial Kitchen, everybody. If you haven't discerned from the title, we are all about pork today. Specifically game day or, party foods. And I'm demonstrating some fun little party food ideas utilizing all different kinds of pork. And our first dish, we have two kinds of pork. I've got some bacon here. This is smoky pepper bacon. I love the smoky pepper bacon because it's just adds another depth of flavor. And I've also got some little mini sausages here. These are cheddar stuffed, another layer of flavor. You guys know how I am about layers of flavor. I'm going to slice these open. And these are bacon wrapped smokies. Now you've probably had bacon wrapped smokies before. This one's going to be a little different. We are going to roll them in brown sugar so they're getting nice and sweet on the outside. And that sugar is going to caramelize, giving us another texture. And then the bacon here, I've got, I'm just going to chop this in half. So we get like half a strip, and we're just going to roll it around there. This is a really simple dish. It's just 3 ingredients, well 4 if you count the toothpicks, which we're just using to kind of hold everything in place. And it's more or less, setting up a little assembly line. You can wear gloves if you want. I know sometimes I talk about wearing gloves when I'm handling raw meat. Bacon is pork, so that's something we want to be mindful of. So you just come in and take the weenie and wrap the bacon around it. And then I stick a toothpick through it to hold it in place, and that's pretty much it. And then we're just going to take it and kind of coat it in our brown sugar. Make sure it's, I like to use the light brown sugar. Make sure it's not packed, it's nice and soft so you can get get it to adhere to the bacon. And we're just going to come through here and do I have finished assembling all these guys. There's about 20 here. I've got a few left in the package. We'll save those for a late night snack. Now I've preheated my oven to 400 degrees. These are going to go in for about 15 to 18 minutes depending on your oven. You just want to make sure that bacon is nice and rendered down and crisp, and that sugar is going to caramelize. And while these go off, we're going to move on to our next dish. Stay tuned. Alright, welcome back everybody. Our bacon wrapped weenies are in the oven, so I'm moving on to our next dish. It is a classic hanky panky. Not quite as glamorous as it sounds. Not really sure where the name comes from actually. If anybody has any ideas on that, please hit me up in the comment section. But I'm just going to start with an onion here. I only need half the onion. I love the onion. It gives a nice depth of flavor. It also adds a little texture to the dish. I feel like hanky panky's kind of one note. It's usually just pork and cheese. So I wanted to add some different things to kind of jazz it up a little and make it interesting. So I'm kind of going in a slightly Mexican direction here. So I'm just going to dice this onion rather small. I don't want too big of pieces in here. I want it to kind of eat well. I've got my pan going here. I'm going to add just a little oil here to help those onions cook down. A couple tablespoons. Just half an onion. I'm going to throw that right into our skillet here. And listen to that baby purr. Love it. You know I love those sounds in the kitchen. Now we're just going to stir these up. Might need just a little more oil. And we're going to, as always, begin our seasoning process. I've got some pepper here, half a teaspoon of pepper, half a teaspoon of salt. That salt's going to also help break down these onions. Nice. Okay, while those onions continue to cook down, I'm going to get my cheese ready. This is some sharp cheddar. Oftentimes this is made with Velveeta. Nothing against Velveeta. It's, you know, has a purpose. But I want it something a little different here. And I like the white cheddar. What's great about this, it's going to have a similar melting quality to the Velveeta. But while I find the Velveeta is, it's a little kind of one note. And the sharp cheddar is going to give us a nice, more rounded flavor. I like that it's a little assertive. And I'm just going to cube this. It's already in slices. I'm just going to cube it, and so it'll break down easier in our pan here. And this is just one package. Should be all we need. Those onions are starting to smell nice. They are cooking down beautifully. I feel like onions are a good base to any dish. Okay, that is our cheese. Onions are starting to look nice. I've also got some garlic here. You know me and my minced garlic. I want just a smidge out here. There isn't a whole lot left in this jar. I'm only going to do about half a teaspoon. That should be plenty. I always wait to add my garlic because I don't want it to burn. Nothing tastes worse than burnt garlic, let me tell you. Let that cook down some. I also have some green chilies here. That would be fun to add a little heat. And this is just one little container here. That's plenty. And these are mild green chilies, so it's not going to be too spicy. If you want, you could always add some hot sauce, some sriracha, some cayenne. I've tried it with jalapenos before, of course without the seeds. These smell pretty good on their own now, and I'm just going to throw those in. I like to throw those in last too. They're kind of wet. If you put them in too early, they're going to prevent your onions from cooking down. And they're already, they've already been processed, so they really don't need much cooking. I just kind of want to bring them to temp a little bit before I add my other ingredients. Now, for our pork. Usually, this is made with sausage. But I got a good deal on this pork at the market, and I thought, why not use pork instead? I'm adding other things to the dish, so I mean, you're really not going to know the difference. Now I'm only going to add half of this container of pork. The other half I'm using for our sliders later. I'm just going to plop that right in. And I'm going to start to break this up so it can render down. What's nice about the ground pork is it's fatty. You can see all that fat in there. So it's gonna render down nicely, and everything's gonna get nice and luscious. And you just want to break that up. It's already starting to cook. Just come in there with your spoon and break it up into smaller pieces. I just want to kind of stir that around so it starts to incorporate with our onions and peppers. Okay, that pork is nice and rendered down. I'm going to go ahead and start to throw in my cheese here. And I'm just going to break it up into smaller pieces. It's going to cook down nicely. I'm going to add just a little bit of milk. This is going to help our cheese to melt nicely, and it'll be nice and creamy and not just one big globby mess. Do this in the crock pot. Once you have everything cooked down, just throw it in with your cheese, throw in some milk, but you want to make sure you go in and check it regularly and stir it to make sure that it incorporates. And this is smelling heavenly, guys. I'm going to come through one last time. Now we've got our cheese in here. It's good to season as you go. Just a little more salt and pepper. And that sounds like our bacon. Alright, let's check that out. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice golden brown. I'm going to set that to the side. Let this cool for a bit while we finish off our hanky panky here. You can see that cheese is melting beautifully. You've got all those wonderful flavors in there. We're going to turn this cheese off. It's going to continue to cook as it sits here, and I'm just going to let it continue to melt down. Oh, guys, I cannot wait. But first things first, our bacon weenies. I'm just going to come in here. I've got one here. I want you to be able to see all the beautiful caramelization from that sugar. And then you've got the crispy bacon. Nice and hot. So you can hear that bacon as I crunch into it. You get a little sweetness from that brown sugar. And then you get that savory note from the smoked sausage. A little heat from the pepper bacon. And then a nice little surprise of some gooey cheese from the sausage. Absolutely beautiful. Now, let's check on our little hanky panky here. And I would say this looks pretty good. Now, this is normally served, like I said, use a crock pot to keep it nice and warm. It's usually served with rye chips or the little pumpernickel squares, but I feel like I want something a little different. So I have some Cantina chips here. So I think it's going to add a nice textural difference with the chip versus, the soft bread. And I'm just going to come in here. Let me get a napkin. I'm just going to come in here and give this a taste for you guys. Let me get a nice chip here. Oh, that is so good. And you can see all the different things we got going on there in our sauce. Mmm. 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 Nice and hot. Automatically get the sharpness of that aged white cheddar. You get the heat, some heat from those peppers, and then the pork just kind of rounds it out, gives it a nice savory feel, gives it some body. Absolutely delicious. Oh my gosh, 2 quick, fun, easy sides, delicious sides out of the way. Next we're going to be making my little mini pork sliders. Stay tuned. Okay, on to our sliders. I've just got a little mixing bowl here. I've got already in here the rest of the pork from our hanky panky. And I have a package of chorizo here. I like the chorizo. It's going to add a nice heat, depth of flavor. And we're doing a kind of almost Asian-esque flavor profile here on this. I've got my minced garlic here. I'm going to do about a teaspoon of that. I've got my ginger here, minced ginger. I'm going to do about half a teaspoon of the ginger. It's a little stronger. Some onion powder. About a tablespoon of the onion powder. Teaspoon of salt. And a teaspoon of pepper. And then I've also got a little sweet chili sauce here. This is going to add a little sweetness. And it's going to play nicely with the heat of the chorizo. And I'm going to do about a teaspoon of that. Teaspoon and a half. And I've got my gloves. You know, I like to use gloves when I'm working with raw meat. Especially pork. Pork is one of those no-no foods when it comes to cross-contamination. And I've already got my skillet going here. It's heating up nicely. I'm just going to come in here and mix all this together. I want all those flavors to incorporate nicely. I want the pork and the ground pork and the chorizo to play nicely together. And then I've got, once these cook up, I have some mini Hawaiian rolls to plate them on. It's going to be delicious. Okay, that looks pretty good. You don't want to overwork it. You just want everything to be nice and incorporate it. And then I'm just going to kind of roll these out, almost golf ball size. And then we're just going to, we'll flatten them a little bit with our spatula. We don't want them too big so they fit on our Hawaiian bun. These are starting to cook down nicely. What's great about the pork and the chorizo, it's nice and fatty, so you don't need any oil in the pan or anything like that. You can just let them go. You don't have to worry about them drying out. And I'm just going to come in here with my spatula and just kind of press down on them lightly. Because these are burgers. You could leave them like meatballs if you want. I've done that before. Made like little taco kind of things. But I thought sliders would be good, nice, good party food. Okay, those are flattened out nicely. I'm going to continue to let them cook just a little bit. We're going to move on to a sauce. It's just mayonnaise and sriracha. And I don't need a whole lot because these are mini sliders after all, so I'm just going to take a little of this mayonnaise. About a couple tablespoons should be enough. And you can make this as hot or as mild as you want. I'm just going to squirt maybe about a 4th teaspoon, just enough to give it some zing. And just kind of stir that up. You'll notice that it changes into a nice light red color. I may add just a smidge more. Again, sriracha is strong, so you don't need a whole lot. And it's time to flip our patties. These are smaller patties, so they're not going to take as long. I know pork does take a little longer than beef. So another reason I like them, because they're nice and quick. Quick to do. Alright, we're going to let this cook down on the other side. They take a few minutes on each side. You just want to make sure that's cooked through. Pork is like chicken. You want to look for that 165 temperature. That's when you know it's safe to eat. And I love the color of this. It just has a nice bright red color to it. While these continue to sizzle in the pan, I'm going to hit them with a little more salt and a little more pepper. It's always good to season as you go. I've got some lovely fat rendered down here. And my Hawaiian rolls, I went ahead and got those out. I'm just going to prepare a couple for myself. And I'm going to kind of toast these a little bit. I want to pick up some of those wonderful juices. And we're going to continue to build our sandwiches. I've got some provolone here. I like the provolone. It's going to hold up well to these other flavors we have going on, and I'm just going to kind of quarter it in half. I'm just going to lay that right on top and let it start to melt. We're going to pull these out. See, we got a nice little bit of color on that. Beautiful. And our tops. I'm going to go ahead and turn our skillet down a little bit. Now to this, I'm going to add a little bit of our spicy mayo. I also have some bread and butter chips here. I'm going to get a couple of those out. And last but not least, our sliders. And I have checked these already. They are good old 165. That is the magic number for pork. I'm going to set this right on top. Do these not look appetizing or what? Your guests are going to love these. Now let's come in here and give it a little taste. Alright. Bon appetit. Ooh, yum. The pork on its own, ground pork can be a little blah, but having that chorizo with it, oh, just adds such a richness, such a nice luscious fattiness. You've got those flavors, the garlic, the ginger, the sweet chili oil, just really amps it up. That mayo, a nice touch of heat, and then you have that nice sweet acidic pickle to cool everything down. Alright, so I have one last dish to show you, and it is a dessert. I know you're thinking, pork dessert? Well, you'll just have to stay tuned and see. Alright, welcome back everybody. We are on to our last dish, and it is dessert. And I know what you're thinking. Pork dessert? Well, I have a trick up my sleeve. This is really become a popular dish lately. It is chocolate dipped bacon. And I've got my bacon here. I was rendering it off in the toaster oven so it's nice and crisp. And then I've got my double boiler set up. Now double boiler is, you have one pot with some water in it that you get boiling, and you set another one on top. And the steam melts, gets the bowl hot, and it melts what's inside. You don't want it to where the water is touching the bowl, because then it'll be too hot. You just want where the steam hits the bowl and gets it to melt. And I've got one package of chocolate chips in here. To that, I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of coconut oil. And that's just going to help it all come together. And then I'm just going to give that a little stir. Just keep stirring it until it's nice and well incorporated. You can always add a little more oil if you need to, but this is starting to look pretty good. Alright, I'm going to add a little vanilla to this. About a half teaspoon, just to give it a little flavor. I'm going to stir that in. Get my glove back out. And this looks amazing. Amazing, amazing. And I thought this would be a fun little dessert. It's a nice little finger food. I'm going to go ahead and take this off the heat. I don't want to cook it anymore because it's looking pretty good. I don't know if you can see that or not. I don't want it to over reduce because then it gets hard and you'll end up with like fudge. What I want to do, I'm going to get a different towel out since that one's covered in grease. I'm just going to let it there. And I just want to take the bacon, I'm going to snap it in half because I want kind of like different pieces. And then I'm just going to bring that bacon in and dip it down in this chocolate. And then I'm going to set it on the towel to let it harden. What I also like about the coconut oil, it gives the chocolate a bit of a sheen. So you get that nice kind of glossy finish when you pull it out. Yeah. And again, I don't want to completely submerge the bacon. I just want to get a nice coating on one side of it. Okay, that is our bacon. I've also got a little flake salt here. I'm just going to sprinkle a little on. The bacon's kind of salty. I'm also using that kind of pepper bacon to get a little heat. But I like seeing the flakes of salt with the chocolate. I think it's a nice combination. Okay. Now let's find a nice piece here. And look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Mmm, chocolate and bacon. Who would have thunk it? Mmm. Mmm. Listen to that crunch. What I love is you get the crunch from the bacon, but also the chocolate as it's hardened on top. The fattiness of the bacon really plays nicely with the richness of that chocolate, and then you just get that little hint of salt at the end. So good. A quick, fun, easy dessert. So, once again, I thank you for joining me in the kitchen. As always, like and subscribe at the bottom. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and until next time, bye now.